I started prostitution when I was 7 years old. My mother.
No one that works a full-time job.
Large swaths of homeless populations in large cities are going markedly missing.
There's no beds available in the hostels, can I honestly max?
Just finished handing out breakfast.
I started prostitution when I was 7 years old. My mother was a and she tutored me out to men that were child. I had a very traumatizing childhood, but it just made me the strong person I am today.
I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay.
At 7 years old, and then you just continued it?
Yeah, I just continued. It was my life. For survival, more or less.
Did you get molested by your parents at all?
I knew my mom, but I never met my dad. I don't even think she knew him. I got 7 brothers and sisters, and we're all from different dads. My mom was a prostitute and got me into at the age of 7. And from there on, I continued.
Yeah. And you've been doing it for 40 years.
Just
I'm sorry, 50 years.
Almost. Well, I'm 57 now.
So yeah, almost 50 years. You dropped out of school because?
My mom was the CPS was after her, and we were moving from motel to hotel to her dates, her tricks, houses or apartments or sometimes abandoned buildings.
Yeah.
We were always on the run. She never stayed in one place too long or shooting galleries.
Did you have any positive memories from childhood at all?
Not really, no. Yeah, when I was in the hospital for 18 months, my mom me over the balcony, the 3rd floor balcony in New York, because all my teeth were abscessed and infected at the age of 10. They had to do emergency surgery because I almost died from the infection. I was 9 years old, in fact, almost 10, and she was trying to get her arm, and I was screaming, crying from the pain of my mouth being so swollen and infected. And she flipped me over the 3rd floor balcony and broke my back. I spent 18 months in the hospital.
I'm sorry.
And from there, I went to foster home, to group homes, kept running away, still looking for my mama.
And you were in these foster homes, and none of them encouraged you to go to school or enrolled you in anything?
I didn't stay long enough. I kept running away and running away to the streets looking for my mom.
And where was your mom?
Yeah.
Did she pass away, or is she still alive?
She got killed when I was 12.
By who?
They blamed it on her pimp.
And you never knew your dad?
No.
How about kids? Do you have kids or other family you talk to?
Yeah, I have 4 kids, but my only son got killed in a drive-by shooting when he was 2.5 months old in California, Sunset and La Brea. I got shot, and his dad also got killed. He was holding him. It was gang-related. It was just a drive-by, but yeah, I have 3 daughters, and to be honest, I gave them up for adoption. Not that I didn't love them, not that I didn't want them, but I wanted them to have a chance in life, something I never had. And I didn't want to bring them into the life that my mom brought me.
I was asleep in the doorway, and I woke up to getting pissed on by a group of lads and then getting the crap really beaten out of me to the point I was put in hospital for being a homeless person.
Could you tell me where you grew up?
I grew up in South London, Croydon to be precise, in an area called Fulton Heath.
And how would you describe your childhood growing up?
My childhood growing up was a mixed one at most. I had some good times, and then I had a few bad things happen, which kind of led to where I am today, but more good times.
When you say the bad times?
I was attacked by my uncle for 2 years, and I told my mum, my mum chose to believe my uncle over me, and it was only till she come in from a night out with her mates one night that she caught him and then got him arrested. But other than that, I can't fault the woman. She was a brilliant mum. Like, God rest your soul. Like, because she killed herself November 24th last year through a violent relationship. But yeah.
And Alex, how do you think do you think that still affects you to this day?
100%. I still have night terrors over it. I still think, like, if I'd done something differently, like, maybe it would have been different, but Who knows?
And first,
There's no beds available in the hostels for my own student max. I'm short of €6 getting for one bed. You could help me, God bless you.
Could I take a picture of you?
You could, yeah.
Could you tell me a bit about yourself as well? Some are quiet.
Yeah.
So 22 years homeless, and how did you end up homeless?
22 years homeless. Paid my taxes for 15 years in this country. My daughter passed away 9 years ago. Went into mental depression. Partner sold the house from underneath me, went up to babysitter.
Yeah.
So I ended up homeless.
Okay.
And in depression.
Okay. And so where do you sleep most nights?
Well, mate, I was 7 nights a week. I would probably get a hostel 3 nights, where before all the people had to come from the country, we would be getting a hostel 7 nights a week.
So other people from other countries are coming in?
And they're getting hotels.
And they're getting hotels before you? Yeah.
And they'll tell you yourself, they'll say what nationality are you, you'll say Irish to them, they'll say sorry, you want to sleep with. That's all Irish people know about it. We do about that, so I'm trying to get that up and running myself on my own. I would like to get back to work, but how am I meant to get to work and I haven't got structure and a report on my head? I don't know where I am from day to the next.
And could you put your hands down and then just look over there? That's lovely, just look at me.
Lost so many friends through the cold because we've not been able to get a sleeping bag. Now that's disgusting.
what does it feel like trying to sleep in the cold?
It's terrible. Sunday night, big crime scene down there. Some lad had a fall out, tried chopping his hand off. This is an homeless guy.
Is it like with a machete?
They all have them on there, all these gangs.
So it's the gang?
I had a brother who was on the streets with me, someone giving tablets. He was found dead 2 years ago in a car park over there. That was my baby brother. So I took him away, gave him some tablets and they were fake. When the police found out, they pulled me. Said, Chris, you have to come and confirm if it's your brother or not. And I went. Even horrendous.
I'm so sorry, man.
It's just like I've just been abandoned, and all I'm trying to do is survive. I'm horrendously losing weight. These are falling out. I have to keep pulling them up.
So your trousers are falling apart?
Yeah, yeah.
So I can try and get you some of those?
Oh, you know, thank you so much.
No worries. No, buddy.
Got to when I was 18, and it's like everyone that was around you just suddenly disappears.
In a hostel in London, Tayane is trying to build a life for herself after fleeing her home in the Midlands. She spent years in the care system.
Turn it off. Turn it down, yeah?
As soon as Tayane turned 18, she was on her own, staring over the frightening cliff edge.
It was very stressful. Like, I think most girls when they're coming up to 18 just want to enjoy their birthday and go out with people, go clubbing for the first time and kind of just enjoy it normally. My friend used to always say, get ready for when you turn 18 because they leave you stranded. And I even had a lot of faith myself. I used to say, oh, that's not the case. And then it got to when I was 18. And it's like everyone that was around you just suddenly disappears. I even had to make my own call to declare myself as homeless. And a lady asked me, are you meant to be making this phone call? And I said to her, oh, I don't know, I'm just trying to get it done.
Did you feel let down by the system?
I just felt really helpless. And I was like, I need to put my big girl boots on and start making my own connections to stay here. And I had to fight for it. Care leavers actually want to live the same life that everybody else is living and doesn't feel belittled because of the life they were forced to grow up with.
Really humiliating.
Just handed out breakfast and coffees to homeless people in Belfast, and I did not expect myself to react like this whatsoever. Originally I thought, you know, it's the small changes that make a difference, small things make a difference, but I don't know, I found it so difficult. Like, those people have absolutely nothing. They've literally got nothing. It just feels so underwhelming. Like, there's so many more people out there and I just wish I could feed them all. It's horrible. I think we need to be a lot more grateful for what we have. Never in my life did I think I would be on TikTok tearing up, but I think we need to be so much more grateful for what we have because wow. Recorded a video of me like making the breakfast and stuff, but I'm gonna post it later. Yes, I've got a reality hit at 25, but I just can't believe how cruel this world is. Like, how can some of us be so lucky and some of us be so unlucky? Take this as your sign. Do what you can to help these people. I certainly know I will after today's experience. I want to do this on at least a weekly basis because it's terrible, and the people are so grateful. All they ask for, like, I was going around with food and stuff and they were like, oh, can I have a coffee? Horrible, and just be grateful for what we have.
No one that works a full-time job should be facing homelessness. And that's what my family is facing right now. Our landlord gave us a 30-day notice to sell our home that we've been in for 8 years. And if you know, we're in a housing crisis right now. And we can't find a home to live in. So after this weekend, that's it. We're going to put everything into a storage unit and be done. And be homeless. Because we cannot find substantial housing, okay? And the issues that we're facing are, every single rental property is, oh, you need to make 3 times to 4 times the rent. Come on, that's like unrealistic. The other one is, oh, your credit score needs to be like 700 plus. Again, unrealistic. If I had all that criteria, I would go buy a house. Like, I would not be trying to rent anything right now. And I guess I'm just feeling like very frustrated because there is a big issue in this country and it needs to be fixed. Something needs to be done. And on top of that, like, let's talk about how all these rentals are like $1,500 and they're like shitholes. They're not even decent. Nothing is updated in them. Everything is old. So much to the point to where now my family is being resorted to being shoved in a small apartment with our 3 kids, our 2 cats, and our 100-pound German Shepherd. That's a problem because we work full time. We should not be forced into an apartment because we're literally being outbidded by all of these other people at these rental properties. It's like you go to a rental property, you put an application in, and so does 30 other people. And they literally just pick out of a hat who gets the house. It's insane. And something needs to be done.
If you're worried about someone sleeping rough in the cold weather, here's how you can help. Firstly, talk to them and ask if they need any help. If they do, you can use an app called StreetLink to put them in touch with local services in England and Wales. Just enter the details of the person on the app, including where you saw them, what time, and anything that can help identify them. An outreach team can then find them and offer support like accommodation. If the person you're worried about is under 18 though, it's recommended that you contact the police instead so that they can get support right away.
It's easy to blame the person who's homeless. You know, if only they just worked harder or tried harder. But the reality is, people that I work with are some of the hardest working people I know. It's hard to survive on the streets. I know people who don't sleep all night because they don't know where to go and they're carrying their stuff everywhere and then they have to find a place to eat, find a place to use the washroom. So my hope actually is that we ask better questions. You know, if we're mad in an encampment, can we ask, well, why is somebody there in the first place? High rents equals more tents. That's just the reality of where we're at. You know, if we're upset about somebody, you know, defecating in our backyard, well, nobody that I work with woke up this morning and said, I would love to poop on private property. Frankly, when was the last time we were walking around downtown and said, oh, shoot, I need to use the washroom, and there was none available? People are stealing from grocery stores because, again, social assistance rates are low. You have to work a job $33.90 an hour. It's impossible. And I think we need to also ask questions about the larger system. You know, I love that you alluded to the Greenbelt earlier. You know, the developers who are profiting, are we asking questions about them? What about the financialization of housing, that people can have access to so much housing and are profiting off of that? That's a problem. So I think it's also important to recognize, too, that, like, there are certain things around racism and sexism and classism that push people over the edge. We can't wear an orange shirt and, you know, read a land acknowledgement and meanwhile say no to encampments and say we want more cops when we know that Indigenous people are overrepresented as homeless people and overly incarcerated. So homelessness is not a personal failure. I think we need to look at the larger systems that have caused people to become in that situation.
I was actually on benefits at the time. One of the obligations was you had to go to the job centre and you had to basically be seen to be applying for roles. And the job centre employee said to me, look, we've got a potential opportunity for you in Eastbourne. It's for building society. You need to go for this interview. We're going to help you prep. And I was like, well, look, I've got a lot of debt. There's no point. Like, it's a waste of time. And he goes, look, if you don't go, you're going to lose your benefits. So I ended up going for this interview wearing jeans and a leather jacket, completely disinterested, because I was thinking, you're not going to employ me and I don't actually want a job here because I probably owe you money through companies that own you. I got interviewed by a lady called Jenny Berry, and I don't know what she did. She got me speaking, got me talking, got me really interested. And she goes, my customer's going to love you. And I was like, okay, you're not going to give me a job. And she goes, no, I want to give you a job. And in my head, I'm like, you're going to do all your credit checks and your fit and proper checks, and you'll just realize that I'm just really poor with money and I'm in debt. And you'll be like, he's not even worth it. And I don't know what she did. I don't know if she did anything at all, but I started that job it was the Portman Building Society in Eastbourne on Havelock Road. And really, that was the beginning of everything, really, to be honest. I found that I was very, very good at explaining how interest on a savings account works and how you can use your interest to pay for a holiday that you might have planned for the year. And that means that your capital is then just preserved. I didn't know what I was talking about really at the time, but that was my gift. And I was so good at the job as a cashier in that first role that I had so many referrals to the financial advisor who sat in the back, a guy called Alex. And bearing in mind, I started like halfway through the year, I'd given and generated the third most amount of business that year, that financial year, because I was as good with explaining things to people. And that is really kind of the start of everything, to be honest. It was a place that I never thought I would be. And, yeah, it opened up a window that it's been a pretty good window to walk through, to be honest. So yeah, I can't complain. Well, I was in that role for 6 months. And then very, very quickly, they were like, we need to put you customer facing because you're really, really good with people. So I got promoted immediately to go and actually be at the front desk, really talking to people. And shortly after that, Portmere Building Society got taken over by Nationwide. I then moved to Nationwide, did the same role. But when I was in Nationwide, I started to realize, well, hang on a second, this is financial services. So there are other kind of like banks and areas that you can go into. And one of the banks that I ended up moving to was NatWest, or Royal Bank of Scotland. And when I was there, I was like, okay, well, you start to explore and you think, well, Canary Wharf is a thing. I used to do music back in the day as well. And my friend who I did music with at the time in London, he lived in Canada Water. And Canada Water, on his apartment, you'd look into Canary Wharf. And we would go walking around Canary Wharf on the weekend when I was up there producing music and writing music. And we're like, it would be amazing to work here one day. And I just made the connection in my head, subconsciously at the time, it would be amazing to work here. And if you go to Canary Wharf, like even now, and especially back then, you know, the guy suited and booted, everyone looks like happy. I mean, I liken this to Pursuit of Happiness. It's my favorite movie of all time. Canary Wharf for me was my Pursuit of Happiness kind of like moment. But I always thought if I could make my way from a cashier, from being a customer service advisor to Canary Wharf in some way, I'll be able to establish myself and have a little bit of financial security. And really that was kind of like the beginnings of where I ended up in financial services. I moved very, very quickly. So I got to Canary Wharf in 2012 and I started off, and it was a pension investment house. I started off on the phones as a telephone boy. And in 5 years, I went from telephone boy to the executive team. And this is a Fortune 100 company, an American company called MetLife.